June 2002, Richmond, Virginia. Near midnight, a line of unmarked cars rolled to a stop and went dark.
Alpha
Radios
team,
whispered.
in position. Proceed with caution.
Roger that. Moving to secure the perimeter.
A team in
Target
FBI
building in
jackets
sight.
moved
No
across
movement
the yard.
observed.
At the door, the lead agent gave a single command. The ram hit. The lock broke. Agents entered. Flashlights swept the hall and the stairs. In the back bedroom, a young man looked up from two monitors and froze. Agents reached the doorway, turned him to the wall, and cuffed his wrists. Power was pulled. Towers and drives went into evidence bags. The charge sheet said unauthorized access into U.S. military and government networks. The penalty meant years in federal prison. This isn't where his story starts. To understand how he ended up here, we have to rewind. Before the raid, there was a kid and a dial-up tone. Online, he used dawgyg. In court papers, he's Tommy DeVoss. Late 90s nights in small IRC rooms. Old chat halls where a handle was your passport. You learned by watching. You stayed because someone answered back. The first wins were loud. Find the weak door, push it, swap a homepage and leave a tag. That was a defacement. Proof you got in, nothing subtle about it. A crew pulled him in. World of hell. The rhythm set fast. Scan, poke, tag, bounce. Clout in public. Heat in private. Ego grows in those rooms. So does speed. University mirrors at 2 a.m. looked like anything else at 2 a.m. Government subdomains looked like anything else at 2 a.m. Same fonts, same software, different consequences. He told himself it was just the next level of the same game. It wasn't. The near misses started. An admin login popped mid-session. A warning email hit a shared inbox with his handle in the thread. He changed habits and hours, but kept the same tag. That's how patterns form. Same name, same typos, same late-night window. What felt random was starting to look like a schedule. The room culture made it worse. Brags in logs, screenshots traded, little trophies hoarded. No one thought about how long servers remember. No one wanted to. That's how the scoreboard stays bright, until it doesn't. He was young when the first real pushback arrived. A university cut a hole he'd used the week before and posted the fix with a timestamp. Another site quietly rolled credentials and cleaned pages he thought no one watched. If you're moving fast, those look like normal churn. If you're watching him, those look like breadcrumbs. By 2001, the tag had a footprint. It showed up across weeks and across hosts. Same time of night, same towns lighting up in the headers, same crew overlaps in chat logs. You can call that luck, or you can call it a trail. Trails end at doors. Noise turned into access. Access turned into a pattern. Patterns are what agents hunt. By 1999, the internet felt like a deserted town after midnight. Dial-up tones, half-empty IRC rooms, forgotten university servers running without anyone watching. News was full of words like worm and virus, code red, and NIMDA turned quiet offices into emergency rooms, sysadmins working through the night to keep their networks alive. Somewhere between those headlines and the silence of his own room, Tommy, still hiding behind the tag dawgyg, found a lane. He didn't begin with banks or vaults. Most nights were spent drifting through neglected machines, mirrors no one checked, subdomains left up by habit. If a login page cracked open, he slipped inside. If the front page flipped, he left a tag. Inside the chat rooms, that was currency. Screenshots passed around like trophies. World of hell, the crew he ran with. stacked clout one page at a time, but clout leaves footprints. The same handle kept appearing, the same window of hours in the middle of the night, the same typo buried in a command. To him, it was random. To anyone watching, it was rhythm. And some people were watching. Pages he thought abandoned suddenly changed passwords. A bug he'd used the night before quietly patched. Logs that looked like noise were starting to form a trail. Near the end, he felt it for the first time. A session froze just long enough to raise the hair on his neck. A status window blinked in a way it never had before. He backed out, breathing shallow, convinced for a moment that someone was there. Then he did what most people do before the lights come on. He went back for one more look. After September 11th, everything changed. What once looked like late-night pranks on forgotten servers now read as national security incidents. Agencies that rarely spoke to each other began trading notes. Cybercrime units suddenly had budgets, new authority, and sharper teeth. The same logs that once collected dust were now evidence. The trail wasn't dramatic. Machines keep records, and those records never lie. Server logs lined up with ISP records. Chat transcripts carried the same handle across different rooms. A test server used by his crew kept command histories that matched the times in other files. No breakthrough, no cinematic twist. Just dates, hours, and patterns that refused to break. The name dawgyg echoed in places it shouldn't have. Not just in archives of defaced pages, but in private logs, in screenshots traded among friends, in tiny details like the same spelling error copied into a line of code. Handle reuse is comfort. Comfort leaves trails. By 2002, the pattern was clear enough to close in. Warrants were signed, teams assembled. They didn't need him to make a mistake anymore. The mistakes were already on paper. All they had to do was wait for the hour he usually sat down at the keyboard. When the evidence folder was thick enough, the knock was inevitable. And when the lights came on in his room, the silence ended for good. You know the raid. After that came the charges. Under the CFAA, the US law that treats breaking into computers like breaking into buildings, he faced years, not warnings. Intake was fluorescent light and silence. Chain, belt, watch, removed and bagged. The judge's words echoed louder than the clatter of metal. Re-offend, and it's life. Every condition was spelled out in plain English. No shortcuts, no back doors, no second chances. When he finally touched a keyboard again, it was under his own name. Real ID background checks. A week of waiting before a single reply. The first report came back rejected as a duplicate. No payout, no proof. But he tried again. This time, Yahoo sent $300. Not a fortune, but a beginning. The process was slower now, deliberate. He used tools like Burp to replay requests, prodding at small cracks without pushing them too far. When a system leaked, he logged it and stopped. Report filed. Door closed. The same reflex that once left his tag on defaced pages now left receipts in bug bounty dashboards. One kind of flaw became his specialty. SSRF, tricking a system into fetching its own secrets. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid. Some companies ignored the reports. Others patched fast and sent money. Even the Department of Defense wrote back with thank you notes. Then one morning the routine broke. 3 valid tickets cleared back to back. By lunch, 2 more. The payouts began stacking faster than he could refresh the page. October 18th, 2018. same desk, same tabs. The routine should have looked ordinary, but not today. A high-severity bug cleared in the morning. Minutes later, another came back valid. By mid-afternoon, more approvals stacked on top. Each one triggered a new payout. The numbers jumped so fast he stopped refreshing, only to check again seconds later. 5 figures rolled into 6. By the time the clock hit midnight, the balance settled at $160,000. A single day. It wasn't a hack. It wasn't even a loophole. Companies were wiring him money to close the very doors he once slipped through. The irony was impossible to ignore. The same reflex that once earned him handcuffs was now worth 6 figures. But there was no celebration, no champagne, no wild night out. Just a folder of saved emails, notes backed up, and a quiet leaderboard flickering on his screen. The biggest payday of his life happened in silence. Two rooms tell the story. One in 2002, filled with evidence bags, server logs, hard drives, chat transcripts. The trail of a handle that refused to disappear. The other 16 years later, quieter, lit only by a desk lamp, a leaderboard scrolling, emails marked valid, a wire transfer climbing past anything he had ever imagined. Today, Tommy DeVoss works under his own name. The payouts are legal, the contracts legitimate, but the FBI still knows exactly where he lives. The judge's words never changed. Reoffend and it's life. The platforms say something different. Report it, and we'll pay. Between those lines, he still works. Same reflex, same hands, 2 outcomes that couldn't be further apart. So, what do we call it when the same talent earns cuffs in 1 decade and 6 figures in a day in the next? Progress? A loophole with a budget? Or just a system that pays until it doesn't?